was a sentence in it. I think it was like high performance habits,
Yeah.
high performing habits. And he's like, if you got it? Yeah,
somewhere back there.
Somewhere back there, but you got it.
Yeah.
He mentions in it, like, I'm so excited to fail because that means that right after I fail, I know exactly how to do it differently the next time. And the next time, if I fail after that, like, you learn something every time. And so my biggest thing was I was so afraid to fail. And I was so afraid of what people thought of me. And I was so afraid of just being authentic that when I finally came into myself, I was at like down there, man. I was rock bottom. I literally was waking up every single morning like, well, that sucks that I woke up today. Like,
Right.
well, how's it going to get worse after that? Like, woe is me type thing. I was in the middle of a divorce. I was in the middle of broke as hell. Like, how am I going to pay my bills? Like, my car broke down. Am I going to be homeless because I can't afford my house now? Like, my husband just left and tried to take my animals. Like, what do I do? And I remember crying to my mom on the phone and going, I failed. I failed my marriage. Which in my mind meant I failed my life. This is not the life that I was meant to have. I was meant to stay married. I was meant to have a family. And as soon as I said that to her, it was like something snapped in me. And I was like, wait a minute. If I already failed, that means I don't fail again. That just means that I get to keep going. And even if I do fail again, well, I've already failed once. Who gives a shit? And so once I realized that, number one, other people's shit was not about me. And once I realized, even if you fail, you've already failed. What next? Keep going. And so that's what it's about. It could be confidence. It could be, assertive. It could be definitely assertive at times. I can be arrogant at times as well. But what it really comes down to is I'm just comfortable with who I am. It's kind of like the movie 8 Mile. When Eminem comes at him with the final battle and he's like, buddy, I already know who I am. I already know that my mom's a piece of shit. I already know that I'm a piece of shit. Like, what else is there? Once you realize that, like, yeah, we all know this, but how do I make it better? You no longer look at, oh, damn, I just failed there. Or, oh, damn, I just said the wrong thing. Or you look at it as your only thought process at that point is, what do I do next? I'm not looking at the past. What do I do next? What can I do now? And that's what a lot of my anxiety, stemmed from, is the suffering within myself. Like, I was so focused on myself that I was just causing mass amounts of suffering. And once I realized that, like, hey, I can control what I do next. I can't control that failure, but I can control what I do next. That's what it's about. Because then after that, oh, did you see the way that she did that? Or, oh man, did you see what she did? Her marriage failed, or her relationship failed after her marriage. Like, no, I'm not worried about that because I'm focused on what I'm doing next. And I don't know if it's confidence or if it's just I'm looking forward to what I have next. And I'm excited about that. So I exude that versus being like, damn, can we stop this early? Because I messed that up and now I'm a ball of like anxiety. Like, no, just coming out and being like, yeah, I messed that up, whatever. Like,
yeah.
Let humans be humans, and then we're just going to get on and move forward. So right. I think that's where it stems from. I don't know.
What in your younger years were you really like self-conscious about that you've gotten over?
Everything, man. Like, think about it. When you're a kid, like,
give me one.
So I grew up as a tomboy. I grew up as a very, very big tomboy, like to the point where not a lot of people know this about me unless you grew up with me. Like, I wore boxers under my pants. And I liked to play outside in mud. I liked to wear, it was really funny because one of my cousins growing up, he was like kind of a skater kid. And my grandma would always get it real confused because Cameron always liked his clothes tighter, but Kelly likes her clothes baggier. And so I just was not confident, man. I didn't know who I was. And being a tomboy growing up, like the boys don't come after you and people think you're either a lesbian or you're just weird. And, they were right because I'm super weird. But the thing is like, my clothes don't define me, but growing up, I'm like, joke's on them because I'm real weird. But like growing up, man, I was super insecure about the way that I looked. I have a lisp. Like I felt like I didn't look like a girl growing up and like just super tomboy. I had a brother growing up. So I was so insecure, not even what people thought about me, but what I thought about myself. Right. And when you're right, when it comes to self-esteem, when you don't have that self-esteem, it doesn't matter what other people think about you. You've already made it up in your head what you think about you. Right. So,
and the thing that I love about self-esteem is that it's literally up to the self. So like your self-esteem is based on what you do and what kind of respect you have for yourself, when you stick up for yourself, when you look in the mirror and hold yourself accountable. It's all self-esteem based. But and Jordan Peterson always talks about how it's not about self-esteem. But the guy that wrote the longest and the most in-depth book on self-esteem says it's all about living responsibly, being honest, like living consciously, living purposefully, like all these different things, assertiveness, like all these things that Jordan would just completely agree with.
Yeah.
He's like, no, that's wrong. But like, Jordan, you're talking about self-esteem in a lot of ways. I'd like for them to talk, even though Jordan is like way too quick-witted and like he's such a better speaker than this other guy, that it wouldn't even be close because it'd be like talking to a chair kind of.
Right. But if you could have a battle of their purest wit and their purest knowledge and, the thoughts that they have based off of self-esteem or based off of, because, Jordan Peterson talks about like, be a lobster, man. Put your shoulders back and get ready to fight. And but then he talks about kind of that lobster mentality of, well, if you get your ass kicked, then, you're going to be hunkered down. Your shoulders are going to sink. But that's self-esteem in a nutshell because,
Here's what I love. Here's what I love about the lobster analogy, right?
Yeah.
Because, deepest part of our nervous system is like directly related to the lobster, okay? Yeah. But here's where it gets interesting. A human has the ability to lose over and over and over and over, and then decide in his mind, consciousness, that I'm going to keep fighting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to shrink because I got my ass kicked.
Right.
Like, my whole nervous system is not going to die and reboot itself because I got my ass kicked. Like, me as a human, I can decide that you're going to have to kill me, period. I'm in this fight to the end. So you might kick my ass, but you're going to know that I was there,
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, humans aren't necessarily created off of the evolution of, well, if I got my ass kicked, that just means down the line, evolutionary, I've got to have stronger ancestors. So this is how we're going to form. And it takes generations and generations for that to happen. Humans, we're like, damn, man, I got my ass kicked. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to read more books and be smarter on this topic so I don't get, verbally assaulted again in a debate. Like, there's so many different options, and that having that consciousness and being able to do that, that's what separates us,
Yeah. And that's why I love being like, I don't know if you ever listened to me talk, but I'm all about being your own hero.
Yes.
Because that belief system is directly rule number one, right? Anything you're in, stand up straight, the shoulder back, and let's go. Let's confront it. Right. Like, no matter what, you can bring that with you. So you don't need anybody. Right. You don't need anything. You don't need a hero, because it's like your hero is right here, right now. Get your ass to work. Period.
Right. How do I create that? And that's the thing, is like, being your own hero. The human mind is so elastic that you could literally say words. You may not even believe them, but I'll bet if you repeated them enough, you'd start believing it. And that's what it's about. Like, if you're able to be your own hero and you're able to step up and say, I am all about accountability. If you're able to step up and say, I got to be accountable, I got to save myself, versus, well, damn, no one's here for me. And that, so I had,
that's my biggest pet peeve, because I was that kid that was like, no one can help me. Like, I can't get a car, I can't do this, I don't have any money, my family can't help me, like, all these excuses, you know? And it wasn't the reality. The reality is that I had to find a way to do it myself.
Right.
Period.
That's okay though, because but think about how many bitter people are out there in this world where they're like, man, no one came for me. And then they use that to make themselves bitter or angry, or, they have poor relationships, poor socialization skills. I had a therapy session one time, and my counselor asked me a very easy question that probably a lot of people could answer real easy. And she said, let's take a step back here, because I was having trouble, with my inner child. And she's like, who was the one person in your life that was sober and safe for you? And I was like, sat back. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, there was nobody.
Right.
Nobody was there. And when you realize that, it took me 30 years to realize that. But when you realize that, it's like, I had to get up and do that myself. I didn't have very good socialization skills because I had really shitty boundaries. So guess what? There is literally a book out there called Boundaries by Dr. Henry Cloud that will teach you about boundaries and having healthy boundaries. But or I could have just said my whole life, that's not my problem. But you have to be your own hero. You have to create that own life for yourself, because nobody's going to do that for you. They're not going to do it. You have to show up, man. You got to be your own hero. And that's what it's about. That's the bread and butter right there.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Man, I love when people confirm my bias.
Yep.
Like, yes, keep it coming.
That just means it's true, right?
To me, it's true, because if I'm depressed, who's going to work through those emotions for me?
Yeah.
Right? If I'm sad, who's going to be sad for me for my specific reasons? You know, like, not only that, who's going to hold me accountable more so than my own consciousness?
Yes.
Who's going to look in the mirror and be like, you were a piece of shit last week when you did that? You know?
Right.
Who's going to tell the truth?
Right.
And I wish I was that guy earlier in my life, because I hurt a lot of women, emotionally, just because I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
I was the piece of shit that's like, I wanted instant validation, because I wanted to feel like, because I didn't get enough data boys when I was younger, So I'm like, oh, maybe if I just have sex with this girl, she'll tell me I'm good enough, and I'll have this girlfriend that still wants to be with me. Right. And then if I get the married woman, she's picking me over her husband, like all these different things. Yeah. That just like gave me short-term validation. And then it became such a part of my life that when I didn't need it anymore, because I did all the work, right? Yep. It was still happening, even though I didn't need that easy validation. It was just like literally part of my habit system. Yeah. And I at some point I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, Mike? Right. Like, you're a piece of shit.
How do I change this? What, but why am I holding on to this too?
Right. Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, I've been there too, man, though. I mean, I literally, to the point of like, and that was one of the main reasons why I chose sobriety and I chose to stop drinking, is because I would sit there and I'd cry to my best friend and I'm like, oh, why didn't Trevor call me back? And, oh, Dan called me, but he yelled at me, and oh, I talked to this person, and he was and this was all in like one night, and I'm bringing up like 6 dudes' names, and she's
Right.
like,
what are you doing?
wait, what? Like, but you realize like that validation is so sweet, man.
Right.
But you literally said the key term of short-term validation.
Short-term, right?
It doesn't last.
Right.
It's not sustainable. That's not the meat and potatoes of everything.
Oh.
That's that raspberry pie that you want to eat,
right.
but it's not going to sustain you.
Right.
But damn it, is it real good?
You know what sucks is that like, okay, orgasm, 30 seconds. All right, man in the mirror, the rest of my life. Fuck.
Yeah. Yep.
No?
But if you ignore that side of yourself, then you don't have to face it. How easy is it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm not the one crying over, get my heart broke. I'm just going to walk off and be good. Hey, Susie, how are you? Like, you know what I mean? But like, once you realize like the wake that you left and the path that you left, you're like, ooh.
Right. Like a lot of good women just met me at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Right. And I might have been the right guy at some point, but at that point, like, not the right guy,
No. Right.
And when relationships are really good, I'm like, I'll find a way to mess this up. Watch this.
Right. Here's the difference, though, is like, I left all these people in my path, and I left them in the wake of my unconscious years, I guess we could call it.
Yeah, you can call it that.
But my ex-husband, I'm like, oh, he left me, blah, blah, blah. And then I kind of realized, like, well, maybe I'm better off without him. And then I really had to realize, like, yo, what was my part in that? What role did I play? How do I fix that? Didn't talk to him for 3 years. And all of a sudden, he's like, hey, do you have time to talk? And I'm like,
great, he's pregnant.
I know. I'm like, damn it. It was my kid all along. And I'm like, is everything okay? And he's like, no. And I'm like, I got time to talk. And my ex-husband is calling me saying, tell me what I've done wrong. I'm about to file for divorce a second time. I need your help. And I was like hold up.
Good. Well, good for him eventually,
Right. Like, but you don't ask divorced people how to have a good marriage. You ask people who have a successful marriage how to have a successful marriage. But the interesting thing is he came at it of, hey, I'm putting my tail down. I'm putting my white flag up. What did I do wrong with our relationship? How did I hurt you? And how do I avoid that? And I was like, whoa. It's not about me. It's not about how I felt. It's about you. It's about what you need to solve. And I'm a big believer in people can change. But trust me, man, I was never a believer in men can change.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
And if you were a man and if you changed, you were not the same person. Nothing about you is the same. And my current relationship right now is with my ex-boyfriend, which is really interesting.
He must have grew. Or you
did. He did
have the same standard.
Yeah, because here's the thing. He was the same way, leaving women left and right in his path. You're married, don't care. You're sad, don't care. Yeah. I'm in a relationship, but I want you, don't care. And when I first got together with him, it was like, oh, he'll change. Like,
you want to fix him up a little bit.
Right. And so we started off way, way on the wrong foot. And
what do you mean by that?
He was in a relationship.
I knew it.
Yeah, got you. Okay. Now that we've established that, trust me, it took a long time to learn because I had to sit down with my therapist, and she goes, I'm telling her, about Chad and Trevor and Dan and other Dan. And she's like, can I ask you a question? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, why do you go after men who are unavailable to you? And I'm like,
you tell me, bitch, you're the therapist.
I know. No, I shit you not. This was my reaction. I went, and she's like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm trying to figure out who you're talking to, because that's not me. And she's like, yeah, that's you. And I'm like, what? And I had to take a step back and be like, instead of being like, oh, this dude's a piece of shit, or oh, you ruined my life, or you did this, I'm like, whoa, what was my role in that? Because if I sit back and I go, and I know you'll be able to relate to this, if I sit back and I go, you did this to me, you hurt me, you're giving your power away. You're giving your power of choice away, your power of your futuristic thinking. You're giving your goals away, and you're saying you had the ability to hurt me to the point where my life has changed because of it. Or I could take a step back and go, yo, my bad. I need to figure out what I did wrong, because then I can change that. I can't change what you do. I can't change what he did, but I can change what I do. So finally, when I was like, I'm done. It was a big dramatic blow up. It was just horrible. And I was like, I'm done. And then we didn't talk for like 3 months. And I was like, I'm good. And because I did all the hard work on me, and, he can just go do what he wants. Well, he came back and he's like, hey, I hope you're doing well. And I'm like, not today, Satan. Not today. But then what it turned into was, because in my mind, I'm like, you haven't changed. You don't get it. And he came to me and he's like, what do I need to do? And I was like, oh, let me tell you what you need to do. But it wasn't about that.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? You worry about what you need to do. I'm going to worry about what I need to do. I love my life right now. I'm reading more. I'm seeing a therapist. I'm learning healthy boundaries. And he went, maybe I need to do that too. And so after him doing all of this hard work for like 8 months, he comes back and he's like, hey, big old notebook. This is all the stuff that I've done. And it's like, I've read these books on how to communicate better. I saw a therapist for 7 months, and this is what I've learned about myself. I journal every day. I work out 5 times a week. I literally have learned my horrible habits of, I need your validation. I need your validation. I need your attention. How do I get this? And all of the work that he did was mind-blowing. And I was telling my dad about it, because I like to run stuff across my dad, because he's a smart dude. He's been there before. And he's like, Kelly, men don't make those changes unless they're serious.
Right.
And I was like,
You're like, damn it.
You got a point. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, let's see what happens. Let's see where this goes. It literally is the most fulfilling relationship I've ever had. It is so different, but it took me killing off the old person that I was. I have this like kind of crude statement that I make all the time of like, I've killed myself so many times in the past, in order to create a new version of me, because
burn off the dead wood.
Yep. Burn off the dead wood, kill off your old self, because you can't move forward with the same thinking that got you stuck. So let's just kill that off. Let's just move forward.
Right.
I did not think, I underestimated him, and I did not think that he was capable of that. But once he started realizing, this isn't about other people, this is about what I can do, it was like, we've all seen David Goggins before, but not many people really think that that's true for the male species. Like, that's the golden god right there. But at the same time, it's
yeah,
it can happen.
Like, hard to compare yourself to Goggins, but I mean, just in general, right now, I feel like people are the weakest physically and mentally that they've ever been.
Yeah.
I'm only going through my, obviously I'm 38, so I've only lived my life,
Yeah.
But man, people are so soft. so soft. And if you're that soft, you can't have an honest conversation with yourself or anybody else, you know?
Right.
So that's awesome about your relationship, because
Yeah.
I kind of went through the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
I had to do a ton of work on myself to finally be in a great relationship. And it's only because we're both willing to be single. We don't need each other,
Yes. Yes.
but we want each other.
I'm happy alone. I'm happy by myself. I know who I am. I can sit in a dark room with all my demons and say, this is who I am. This is who I was. This is who I want to be. And this is the path that I'm going to take to get there. But once you've found someone that's, one, willing to do that hard work, and two, able to separate themselves from you, because I was super codependent growing up. Oh man, codependent as hell. There's a book called Hold Me Tight, and I still refuse to read that book because I'm like, nope, that's gonna cut my codependency in half, and it's gonna call me on my bullshit. But truly, like, when you find a person who's willing to do that work and you're willing to do that work, there's no bounds in your life. There's no limitations, because your communication has upped to the point of not, well, you're just an asshole. Well, you're just a bitch. It's, hey, I said something that I'm not proud of. Let's talk about that. Can you just show up with me? I just need you to just show up and be here with me, versus like, well, you did this. Like, I mean, we all want to blame, but once we can own what we did, it lets that other person's guard down, and they're able to own, hey, I don't like how I reacted either. And that growth is so strong at that point. Yeah. But I mean, I was a true believer in men don't change.
So was I at some point.
Right.
I was like, hey, this is who I am.
Right.
It is what it is.
Right. I
was lying, though.
That statement alone always makes me cringe. This is just who I am. And not to be cliche, but Dr. Phil over here, how's that working for you?
Right.
Oh, not very well. All right, let's fix it then. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because that's who I used to be. Well, this is just who I am.
Right.
That's an excuse.
Yeah.
Get rid of the excuses. You don't need them. Like, find a different way to live.
So I'm reading 2 books right now. I'm reading this one.
Yes.
Beyond Order by Jordan Peterson of People Can't Dream.
Yeah. Well, you have that personality isn't permanent. I've seen that too. Yeah. Yes.
And it's confirming all my bias too.
Yeah. Yep. That's okay though.
Right. Hey. What are some of the books that have really, like, you've read more than once because you're like, I need to go back to that and see what's up?
Oh man. Obviously, Man's Search for Meaning. 12 Rules for Life. I wish I could carry this book around me as a backpack, man. Like, I literally wish that I could just take this book with me everywhere, because he takes the emotion out of it all. And he really just says, like, yeah, like, and he breaks it down for you of like, hey man, you might be fucked up, but here's how you can make it better, and you can make it better.
And how do people like you and me hear that and be like, okay, I'm going to do something about it? And then other people are like, he compared us to lobsters. Fuck this guy. He's a misogynist.
Right. Oh, you mean I just have to pet a cat and I'll be happy? Weird. I do that every day. Like, yeah, I get it. But I just think it's that victimhood mentality versus the growth mentality. Yeah. And if you don't have that growth mentality, that's what it's always going to be like. Yeah. Anytime one of my friends always comes up to me and is like, well, he didn't read any of my messages. I'm like, hold on, that's not about you though. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I know you don't see that, but trust me, it's not about, like, it's so hard to communicate with people like that because they don't, it's a different path. It's a different mind path. Mm-hmm. And they don't cross.
Right. What rule do you think is your favorite out of that first book of his? 12
Oh my gosh.
They're all weird names. They're all hard to remember.
Rule 6, set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
Oh, why? It's easier to just blame everybody else for how things are.
I'm like, don't say that. Yeah, you're right. But at the same time, I realized how much of a mess my house was. And I realized in order to change everything and everyone around me, I had to start here.
Right.
And how easy is it to be like, hey man, how's it going? And your reaction is,
Right.
You want to have a conversation with someone like that? Because I guarantee you that even people that feel that in their soul don't want to talk to you.
Right.
They don't want to hear that. So if I come at you and I'm like, hey man, how's it going? I'm like, man, you know what? It's going really good. Thanks for asking. And I've got a lot that I'm looking forward to. How's your day? Yeah. Like, that's going to be a totally different conversation, but you have to start within yourself. You can't expect everybody, your own hero. You can't expect everybody else to do the hard work and all of a sudden you're going to feel different. You got to make that happen.
Well, even if someone was willing to do the hard work for you, how can they?
Right, exactly.
I mean,
they can't have your relationships for you. They can't have the conversations for you. That's so true. What's your favorite rule? What's your favorite rule, Nick?
Rule 1, stand up.
Yeah, I was going for that. I figured it would be, but I had to ask. So
yeah, actually, and then I don't have the book near me, but I think it's rule 4. Pursue what's meaningful, not expedient, because I hate instant validation because I used to need it. It was like a crutch. So now meaningful is a great relationship with my wife,
Yeah.
And to me, what's more attractive from a female's perspective? A man that has potential options, but chooses to be with one woman, or the man that just takes all his options and just has fun with them.
Exactly.
What's more attractive?
You want the guy that's going to stay dedicated. And I'll tell you why, because it makes you feel better. It doesn't make you feel better to choose the guy with all these different options. And don't ask why I found that attractive for so long. But at the same time, like, it doesn't feel good. But now that I'm older and more mature, you know what I mean? Like, I want that man that's literally going to sit down and do the hard work.
Right.
Because I didn't experience that in my marriage. But now that I have that in my relationship, I'm like mind blown that you could literally wipe a man's ass for him and still find him sexy 50 years later. There's something to be said for that. We all crave security. We all crave, safety. We all crave that meaningful relationship. But do you believe that you can achieve that meaningful relationship if you haven't done the hard work in order to recognize it?
Right. And what if only one person does the work? It's not going to work.
No. It doesn't work because eventually you outgrow them. And that was the thing is, in my marriage,
and then you get extremely resentful because you're like, what the fuck? I'm putting all this work in, you're just going to stay the lazy piece of shit that you are? Like, I don't want anything to do with that.
Yep.
They become like the opposite of what you're attracted to.
Right. It's like, I read this insult one time and it was like, I married the stale ham sandwich of a human. And everybody can visualize that. And it's like, ooh.
It's a good description.
Yeah, nobody wants that stale ham sandwich of a human. He might provide you a little bit of protein, but he's still stale. And it's probably not good for you to eat anyway.
Right.
So, and I mean, I did that in my marriage. I gave 120%. He was in the infantry. His striker unit hit like a 350-pound IED. He was in the hospital for a very long time. I did all the hard work. I went to all of his doctor's appointments. I made every single phone call to the VA. I wrote to our congressman when he wasn't being treated right by the Department of the Army. And it was like, after that, I still had nothing to show for it. And it was like, I can't do this anymore. That resentment will bite you in the ass every single time. and it's not worth it. And so having the relationship that I do now, and I told him before we got in a relationship, I was like, I am not willing to settle for this. I know my worth. Negotiate your worth. I know my worth, and I'm going to go higher every single time because I've never had that relationship before, but I know it exists, and I'm not willing to stop until I have it. And when you have it, your career gets better. You make more money. You value that money, and you save more money. You take care of your body. You take care of your family. You take the time to go, ooh, there's a dandelion in the yard, and you pick it out by the root versus mowing over it with your lawnmower and having 20 more dandelions in your yard. You do the hard work, and it is so satisfying to be able to lay in bed with that person at night and go, they have my back.
Right.
And I have theirs.
Right. When you feel like your whole life you were alone.
Yeah.
You know, finally, someone that's like side by side, willing to do the work on their own. But now you have two people that come together. It's just like, it's beautiful, you know?
Yeah. And
especially when you're comparing it to like what we used to have for relationships.
Oh,
just
man.
Like train wreck after train wreck, a lot of potential in them, but it's just like,
no, thanks.
Right.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of potential, but that's so dangerous when you fall in love with potential. Because what are you really falling in love with? You're falling in love with an idea. You're not falling in love with that person. And my dad always told me, a woman falls in love with a man and marries him, hoping he'll change, and he never will. And a man falls in love and marries a woman, hoping she'll never change, and she does. And I remember thinking,
like, damn, Dad, you're smart.
That is an old ass way of thinking, but I bought into it for a very long time. Yeah. That's a very old school way of thinking because I've seen it, I've witnessed it, so I know it's true. Men can change, women can change. We're all capable of that. It's just what we choose. And I'm in that mindset now of if, you know, my boyfriend came up to me and was like, hey, I actually don't want to marry you. You know, I really just want to fuck around the rest of my life. I would go, damn, that sucks. But I've got more that I want to do in life and I know what exists in life. I wouldn't take that personally because I'm like, I'd be real heartbroken. Don't get me wrong, because I see that exists, but I'm like, I'm not willing to settle. You know what I mean? I'm just not willing to do that anymore. And choose the hard work, man. Choose the hard work, and your relationships will pay off for it because know your worth, be your own hero. No one's going to come and save you or advocate for you. You got to pick that life. Right.
Or you could just like watch other people get promoted, watch other people have great relationships and just get resentful. Right. That's why, what's Jordan say? Which I agree. I repeat it a lot. That weak and resentful men are the most dangerous men on earth. Right? They won't fight you. They won't confront you, but they'll poison your soup or shoot up your movie theater.
Yep.
You're cowards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Resentment is so poisonous. It's so toxic. But the problem is it can spread really easy too.
Right. Yeah.
You got to cut it off. Oh, that's so true. That is, man, why is he so smart?
I don't know, but people are like, man, I hate that guy. I'm like, for sure, you don't understand what he's saying then.
Right. Is it because he's calling you on your bullshit? Because I hate it when people call me on my bullshit too.
Right. Yeah. Or he thinks so deep, you know, he'll think about a word for 10 years and then he'll come up with a conclusion. You know, it's like this guy does not just start rattling off his lips hoping to be right.
Right.
Like he's thought about it. But the problem is when he's like trying to explain it, he's thought so many layers deep, and you're on like layer 1.5.
Yeah.
And layer 15, and you're trying to connect the dots. You know.
Yep. Let me throw this out there. Have you read his book, Maps of Meaning?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I listened to it because it was fucking taking me forever to get through it.
100%. I did as well.
Yeah. He wasn't writing it for the general public. He was writing it like to legit show people that he knows his shit.
Yeah, exactly. And you that book could be a college course on its own.
Right. And I think it was, actually. I think that's what a lot of his, a lot of his sessions or whatever classes were based on.
Mm-hmm. And that makes sense. Had I known that before I read it, I would have been a lot less lost. Right. Thankfully, I heard a quote from him like a quarter of the way through it where he's like, don't read a book the first time to get 100% of it. Read it to get the underlying meaning of it and the main gist of it. Mm-hmm. If you want to really understand it further and deeper, well, then you can read it again. And thank God I heard that while reading that book, because I was pausing it, going back, pausing it, going back. And I'm like, what'd he say? Wait, I got to stop that and think about what did he mean? What does that mean? And I'm like, oh, man.
Right. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, you know?
Right.
But what I am is I'm a guy that I'll think about it forever until I come up to a conclusion. And I'll try to make all these different connections to like how it trickles out into the world, and like so I think really deep, but at first I might not understand what the hell is going on.
Right.
You know, so I can stick with it. I'm slow but coachable.
Right. And I am too, but I'm getting better at that.
Yeah.
It used to just be like, what the hell does that mean? And I'm like, and now I'm like, you know what? You're right. I don't really know what you said, but I'm going to figure it out. And let's talk a little bit more about that. Like, I'm okay saying that I don't know what they said or what they're talking about, or being like, yo, hold up, go back. We got to you got to re-say that because I have no idea what you said.
Yeah.
But admitting it is half the battle. So, you know.
So who else what other figures do you kind of follow? Like I have a love-hate relationship with Sam Harris because he's so damn smart. But there's something that I can't buy into it. He's just like, you know, and like maybe this is like the camp. It's either you're on JP's side or you're on Harris's side. Yeah. And I fall more so on JP's side because he relates biology, psychology, religion. Like he kind of plays them all together.
Right.
And then there's sometimes where I'm like, Sam, you definitely don't know the answer, but you're not saying I don't know.
Right.
You know,
kind of refusing to accept it.
Right. Like when Jordan and him were debating in their third debate about meaning, basically.
Yeah.
And he's like, objective truth. And Harris is like, or Jordan asked him to clarify, and Harris is like, I know it's objectively bad if you put your hand on a hot stove. And then Jordan immediately said, unless you're putting your hand on that stove to save a child.
Right.
Right? I just got goosebumps.
Context.
Right. Meaning. Right?
Yeah.
Meaning. It's objectively good if you just have to burn your hand to save a kid.
Right. Right. You know what I mean? What other things are in play? And I think that's what Jordan Peterson wants to get people to think about is you are not just one single thought. Nothing is just one single thought. There's so many connections and so many relations that he wants to get you thinking outside of that. Right. Even if he could be wrong, because sometimes he'll admit, and he's like, well, a lot of people don't agree with me when it comes to this, but here we go anyway, because this is what I think. Right. And you're like, well, you're right. I don't really agree with you. Or, yeah, I do agree with you. Yeah. But there's some people that just love him or hate him. Jordan Peterson is here, and he's here to tell you what he thinks. Yeah. Whether it's socially acceptable or not. Right. And I think a lot of really hardcore personalities have a tough time with that.
Right. And I love it. I don't know why. But so maybe it's because I didn't have a real father figure growing up. But you ever heard of Dan Pena?
I don't think I have.
You probably have. He's like an old man. He's just always screaming at people. He's like, you fucking pussies, blah, blah, blah. You know? Yeah. He always wears a suit. There. And I'm like, dang, I like this. You know? Yeah. He's like, you should have rolled down your mom's leg. And and all this different, just in your face telling you that you're worth more, but you're acting like a bitch. Yeah. You know? And I just I like it, but it's it's so cliche. He's like the angry dad that's pushing their kid to be better.
That's okay, because sometimes we need that, because sometimes, some of us didn't have the dads that were go for this and come on. And, you know, I mean, I remember the first time I told my dad that I was depressed and he was like, don't ever talk about that in front of me. And I was like, oh, cool. Okay.
Right. All right. Yeah. So I got a lot of support here. Okay.
Right. Great. But when you have people like Pena or Goggins who literally sit there and they're like, look, man, if you're fat, just say you're fat. That's okay.
Right.
What are you going to do now? Like, it's all about potential, man.
Yeah.
How do you get people to see their potential?
Well, I got your book ready to go out in the mail. I'm leaving this weekend. I'll mail it Monday. But I'm just coming in the rule number 2. Yeah. Imagine who you could be and then aim single-mindedly at that. Good one.
People have a hard time doing that, though.
Right. Because you can't admit your potential. It's hard, especially if you're coming from like a low self-esteem, don't believe in yourself, nothing's ever worked out because you don't have enough confidence to actually try it to the best of your ability.
Right.
It's hard to believe that, like, yeah, I could be that guy that I look up to. And actually, I'm a little bit resentful towards because, like, I just, in my head, I make up some story about this person that has it all that I want.
Yep.
And act like it was just given to him.
Right.
You know?
It's so easy for you. You have it so easy.
Oh,
like,
yeah, must be nice.
Yeah. But then you don't work for it, then you're never going to see it. But I mean, and think about it, you know, work that single path. It's so easy to get distracted with stuff nowadays. Like, it's so easy to be average that you're not even working towards mastering anything because it's too hard to do. I mean, anybody say what they want about David Goggins, but that motherfucker can run.
Yeah, that's
you know what I hate doing? Running. You know what I will do? Anything but run. Right. But that's the thing is, like, he works so diligently towards that single path. And Jordan Peterson, that single path of the human potential and the cognitive potential. And we love them because they master those things.
Right.
But we have a hard time doing that. I have a hard time doing that.
Goggins doesn't have to do it. He's already done it, you know? And he's made a ton of money. Like,
but he still does it.
He's like, I'm going to go suffer for a few hours.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
What else am I doing?
And then after that, I'm going to go suffer again.
Right.
And we're like, damn, man, I hit the gym for 30 minutes. I'm going to get that chocolate banana milkshake.
Right. Yeah.
Because I deserve it. Like, yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. So did you answer my question? Who else do you look up to? Sorry, I went on the Sam Harris.
I got you. Oh, man.
How about females?
Perfect. Dr. Edith Ava Eger. She is a Holocaust camp survivor. And she wrote a book called The Choice. And that book is literally all about how to all you have to do is make a choice. How to make the choice that's better. How to make the choice to choose a better life. And her thing is don't choose victimhood. Whatever you do, don't choose victimhood. And it goes a little bit into her life, and it goes a little bit into, you know, her marriage after her concentration camp, and then during the concentration camp, her time at Auschwitz. And it's all about you have the power of choice. Use it. I love her. And she actually just came out with her second book. I can't think of the name of it right now. I liked it. I didn't like it as much as the first one, but I still really liked it because a lot of it was kind of reiterating her first book. But I really look up to her and I really enjoy her. I have to throw Brene Brown out there too.
Okay.
Brene Brown is one of those figures where sometimes I get a little like, because I feel like maybe her life seems a little too perfect sometimes. But Brene Brown, her concept of authentically living and being authentic made me, this is me. And I'm going to show you who I am. And if you take that, great. If you don't, that's okay.
I'm in the arena.
And
Shut up.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy her. I really enjoy just her message. One of her books was Braving the Wilderness, and it's all about how to brave your own wilderness alone. Nobody's help, how to do it yourself. And I'm like, yep.
Right.
I like that.
Well, see, she's smoother at saying, quit being a pussy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to work on my delivery because
get your shit together.
Right. Because I want to reach that kid that was me at 24.
Yeah.
But it's hard when I just wanted to cuss him out,
You can't do that.
Right.
You can't fight with a little kid, man. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But I get it. Because you see that life and you want other people to see that life too. Mm-hmm. That's what it's about. Yeah. If I could literally quit my job today, I could. But if I could quit my job today and I could travel to third world countries and not only learn from the people that have less than us, but to be able to give back to those people and say, hey, let's talk about mental strength and learn how they have that mental strength and how they exude that, because they don't have the stimuli that we do, but they go through a lot more traumatic events than we do on a daily basis even. And learning to live without running water. I grew up in Alaska. I lived without running water, but at the same time, like, not even having access to clean water. Like, I feel like the rule you were talking about, pursue work that is meaningful and not expedient, that's meaningful to me. Yeah. Learning about other people's situations, but being able to see what also I have to offer them. Like, that's it right there.
Yeah, I like that.
That's it.
I feel like there's probably something inside you that kind of wants to be someone that pays it forward, in one way or another, like this podcast interview or a book of your own at some point, or like something creative, it's probably in you. Maybe you just haven't admitted it yet.
I realized that, money, it doesn't make me happy. And there's so many other things in life to pursue that make me happy. And I'm like, I just have to take that step to actually do it.
Yeah.
That's all it is. Just making that one choice, making that one decision to do it. But
so what are you what's on the list? What have you been kind of thinking about, but you just haven't admitted that you actually want to do it?
I have to break my comfort zone. So there's a Chuck Palahniuk book. It's called Invisible Monsters. And he has a quote in there. Have you read it?
No, but he wrote Fight Club, right?
Yeah. Yep. So he has a book called Invisible Monsters, and it's about this model. And all of a sudden, she's in this horrific car accident to do with birds. And it basically like disfigures her entire face to where she has to wear a veil over her face. And it's kind of like her inner thoughts and kind of her outer appearance and how she interacts with people throughout the book. It's very, very, very interesting. We'll say that.
Right. Yeah.
There's a quote in that book, and it's all about, I wanted to force myself to grow again, explode my comfort zone, and be saved by chaos. Mm-hmm. And it literally, I feel like that is my life venture, but there's still something holding me back all the time where I'm like, safety and security of my own home type of a thing. Mm-hmm. But I think what I'm going to try and do this year is travel more internationally. I know that COVID's still a thing. I know that it's hard to, travel internationally right now without, I think Cambodia makes you pay like a $2,000 deposit just to travel there. Plus you're on quarantine, but like, I want to go to Vietnam. I want to go to Thailand. I want to go to Scotland and learn about my heritage. And I want to learn about different cultures and different
What about the
societies.
Hood? What about the Hood? I like the Hood.
Yeah, I could do that.
I feel at home in the ghettos. I don't know why. Even when
I could see, and that's a big comfort zone for me, because my thing is like, I started getting interested in like Skid Row.
Yeah.
Oh man. Woo! Talk about down and out in the middle of a country that has everything.
Right. My mom's living that life.
Right. And for me, I didn't grow up with concrete jungles. I didn't grow up with hoods. I literally grew up in smack dab in the middle of Alaska, where maybe you have running water, maybe you don't.
Right.
And
isn't that funny that people from every different background have the same problems?
Yeah.
Not problems, but same like situations, right?
Yeah.
Childhood trauma, lack of belief, self-esteem problems.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely a human condition.
And it all kind of stems from like the same basis and that same foundation of, did you have your needs met when you were younger? Did you have safety and security? Whatever that looked like or didn't look like, did you have the fundamental needs that you needed in life? And whether it was not having running water or being shot at every day, that need is not being met. And so my biggest thing is, now that I've started figuring out who I am, I want to expand that more. And I want to go into those places that make me uncomfortable. I want to learn about those things. I want to learn about those people's lives. I want to learn about, the thought of going to a foreign country scares the hell out of me, because this is easy. I know this. But once I can do that, then I can start expanding my potential after that. But I got to do it. So
you should document it for other people.
Yeah. I've always wanted to be one of those bloggers that just gets paid to like travel, so, and that's a thing nowadays. So
it's a real thing. It just, it takes forever. I mean, it's not like you get a paycheck 2 weeks later. It's like you build it up for years and you start getting paid eventually.
Yep. Exactly. It's everything all into one and what you take out of it.
Yeah.
So,
well, Kelly, I got to wrap this up.
It was so good talking to you. It seems like we're like on the same page, and just, I love it. I love meeting people like you, because it expands who I am and it expands who you are. And you just feel like people get it,
Right.
It's
like, you're my people,
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh man. All right. So the camera went a little bit crazy on us in the beginning, but it's like super clear right now. So I don't know what happened, but we'll do it again. If this recording didn't turn out good, we'll just do one next week.
Cool. That sounds good. And then once I get the book and I'm through it, man, we're going to have a lot to talk about. So
yeah, that'd be good. Good. We'll follow up on that.
Very cool. Good talking to you. It was really good exploring your mind, and
it was good to meet you.
Yeah, very good to meet you.
You see different things on Instagram. You're like, I don't know what this person's going to be like, but
do they just copy paste quotes from the internet, or are they genuine? Like,
Well, I think I don't have. I tried to be fake. It just doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. People see through it, and it turns out we're all a little cliche. And once you find the people that are a little weird, off the beaten path, you're like, oh, I like that guy.
Amen. All right, I'm out of here.
Good talking to you.
I gotta go.
Cool. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.